Number 1. As a child, I received a beautiful antique doll from my grandmother. It had intricate detail and seemed to emanate a serene presence. However, as I grew older, strange occurrences began to happen. I would hear soft giggles coming from my room at night, and sometimes I would find the doll in different positions than where I'd left it. One night, while I was sleeping, I woke up to the sound of scratching coming from the doll's direction. Terrified, I turned on the lights to find deep scratches on my bedroom door, as if someone or something had been trying to get in. I decided to get rid of the doll, but no matter how many times I threw it away, it would always reappear in my room the next day. Finally, I sought some help from a paranormal expert who informed me that the doll was possessed by the spirit of a young girl who had died tragically. After a lengthy process of cleansing, the haunting ceased, but the memory of those terrifying nights still sends shivers down my spine. Number 2. My family and I moved into a quaint house in the countryside, looking forward to a peaceful life away from the hustle and bustle of the city. However, our dream turned into a nightmare when strange things started to occur. One evening, as we sat down for dinner, we heard a loud crash coming from the attic. Upon investigation, we found that the attic door had vanished, leaving behind only a blank wall. Confused and frightened, we called a contractor to investigate, but they found no explanation for the disappearance of the door. Things only got worse from there. Objects would go missing and reappear in strange places, and we would hear footsteps echoing through the empty corridors late at night. The worst part came when one day our entire house vanished into thin air. We were left standing in an empty field with no trace of our home ever existing. To this day, we still cannot explain what happened, and the memory of our disappearing house haunts us. Number 3. I inherited an ornate mirror from my great-grandmother, unaware of the dark secret it held. At first I was mesmerized by its beauty, but soon I began to notice strange reflections in its glass. Every time I looked into the mirror, I would see a glimpse of a sinister figure lurking behind me. Its eyes would follow me wherever I went, and I could feel its malevolent presence looming over me. Terrified, I decided to cover the mirror with cloth, but the haunting continued. I would hear whispers coming from behind the cloth, and sometimes I could swear I saw the figure's twisted grin staring back at me. Desperate for answers, I consulted a psychic who revealed that the mirror was a portal to the spirit world, and the figure was trapped. It was a soul seeking revenge. In a last-ditch effort to break the curse, I did smash the mirror in 2 pieces. But to my horror, the figure emerged from the shards, free to roam the earthly realm. To this day, I live in fear of encountering the vengeful spirit that once lurked within the mirror, a reminder that some secrets are better left undisturbed. Number 4. It was a chilly autumn evening when I first laid eyes on the house on Willow Street. Nestled among towering trees, its weather-beaten facade exuded an eerie charm that drew me in despite the warnings from the locals. Little did I know that stepping foot into that house would unleash a nightmare beyond my wildest imagination. As I stepped through the creaking front door, a wave of musty air enveloped me. Moths danced in the dim light flickering through the windows, casting airy shadows on the worn floorboards. Despite the chill in the air, a sense of foreboding settled over me like a heavy shroud. Ignoring the creeping unease, I ventured further into the house, my footsteps echoing in the empty corridors. The first night in the house was restless. Strange noises echoed through the halls, and I found myself tossing and turning in bed, unable to shake the feeling of being watched. As dawn broke, I resolved to uncover the secrets hidden within the walls of the old house. During the day, the house took on a different demeanor. Sunlight streamed through the windows, casting a warm glow on the faded wallpaper. Yet beneath the surface, a sense of unease lingered, as if the house itself held its breath, waiting for nightfall to reveal its true nature. As days turned into weeks, I delved deeper into the history of the house, uncovering tales of tragedy and loss that had befallen its previous occupants. Rumors swirled among the locals, whispering tales of hauntings and restless spirits that roamed the halls at night. One evening, as I sat alone in the dimly lit parlor, a sudden chill swept through the room, causing the flames in the fireplace to flicker and die. A sense of dread washed over me as I heard footsteps in the hallway outside. With trembling hands, I reached for the flashlight on the table beside me, casting its beam into the darkness. What I saw sent a chill down my spine. A shadowy figure stood at the end of the hallway, its eyes gleaming with malice. Heart pounding, I stumbled to my feet and fled into the night, the echo of laughter following me into the darkness. From that moment on, the house on Willow Street became a prison, trapping me in its grasp with no hope of escape. Days turned into weeks, and still I remained trapped within the confines of the house. Every night brought new terrors, whispers in the dark, phantom footsteps in the halls, and the feeling of icy fingers brushing against my skin. With each passing day, my sanity began to unravel, the line between reality and nightmare blurring beyond recognition. I pleaded for release, but the house remained silent, its walls holding tight to the secrets buried within. Then one fateful night, as the moon hung low in the sky, I made a desperate decision. With trembling hands, I lit a match and set fire to the house, watching as the flames consumed everything in their path. As the inferno raged around me, I felt a sense of liberation wash over me, the weight of the house's hold lifting from my shoulders. In its place was a sense of freedom, a chance to leave the horrors of Willow Street behind and start anew. But as I stood amidst the ashes of the once grand house, a cold realization washed over me. The nightmare was far from over. From the flickering light of the flames, I saw them. Countless figures standing in the shadows, their eyes gleaming with hunger. With a scream of terror, I turned and fled into the night, knowing that the horrors of Willow Street would haunt me forever. And so, dear listeners, beware of the house on Willow Street, for its walls hold secrets darker than you can imagine. Should you ever find yourself drawn to its doors, remember my tale and flee while you can, lest you become the next victim of its grip. Number 5. I remember it like it was yesterday, even though it's been years since that fateful night. The memory still sends shivers down my spine, reminding me of the horrors that lurk in the darkness. It was a late summer evening when my friends and I decided to embark on a camping trip in the remote forests of northern Michigan. Little did we know we were about to encounter something far beyond our wildest nightmares. The sun was setting as we arrived at the edge of the forest, the towering trees casting long shadows across the ground. Excitement filled the air as we unloaded our gear and set up camp. The crackling of the campfire and the laughter of my friends echoed through the woods. As night fell, we gathered around the campfire, swapping stories and roasting marshmallows. But as the flames dwindled and the darkness enveloped the forest, an eerie silence descended upon us. The once lively woods seemed to hold its breath, as if anticipating something very bad. I brushed off the feeling of unease, chalking it up to my imagination running wild. But as the night wore on, strange things began to happen. Faint whispers echoed through the trees, too soft to discern their origin, but too close to ignore. My friends and I exchanged nervous glances, our laughter fading into an easy silence. I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end as the whispers grew louder, their words incomprehensible, yet undeniably sinister. Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the stillness of the night. Without hesitation, we grabbed our flashlights and ventured into the darkness, determined to uncover the source of the terror. We stumbled through the underbrush, our hearts pounding in our chests as we followed the sound of the screams. The forest seemed to close in around us, the trees twisting and contorting in the dim light of our flashlights. After what felt like an eternity, we stumbled upon a clearing bathed in moonlight. At its center stood a dilapidated cabin, its windows shattered and its walls covered in strange symbols. The air was thick with an otherworldly presence, almost sending me to my knees. With my hands trembling, I pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside. The interior was shrouded in darkness, the only light coming from the moon filtering through the broken windows. The air was heavy, and the floorboards creaked beneath our feet as we cautiously explored the abandoned cabin. Suddenly, a deafening roar echoed throughout the room, causing us to jump in terror. We turned to see a monstrous figure looming in the shadows, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. With a guttural growl, it lunged towards us, its claws outstretched, its mouth twisted into a snarl. We fled into the night, the creature hot on our heels as we raced through the forest. Branches tore at our clothes and roots ripped us up, but we refused to stop until we were safely out of the woods. As we emerged into the clearing, the first light of dawn painted the sky in hues of orange and pink. We collapsed on the ground, gasping for air and shaking with fear. The events of the night replayed in my mind, each moment more terrifying than the last. To this day, I can't shake the feeling that something evil lurks in those woods, waiting to claim its next victim, and it almost claimed me. The memory of that night haunts me, a constant reminder of the horrors that lie just beyond the edge of our reality. So if you ever find yourself near the Whispering Woods, heed this warning and stay far away, for the darkness that dwells within it is beyond comprehension. Thank you for listening. Be sure and subscribe, hit the like button, and as always, sleep well.